And Juju is a bigger baller than Caitlin Clark. I said it.
I said
it.
Yeah.
I said it.
Cam Newton just dropped a hot take that sent shockwaves through the sports world, claiming that Juju Watkins is a better athlete than Caitlin Clark. But if he thought that take would go unchallenged, he was in for a surprise. Stephanie White and Caitlin weren't about to let it slide. In today's world, where opinions fly faster than a buzzer beater, some statements stick, while others crash and burn. This one, it didn't land. The moment Newton's words hit the airwaves, the internet ignited like a packed arena in overtime. Fans, analysts, and players alike jumped into the debate, dissecting every angle. And then came Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever. Poised, deliberate, and laser-focused, she wasn't just reacting, she was setting the record straight. With the composure of a coach who knows exactly how to handle pressure, White made it her mission to drown out the noise and defend the talent and legacy of one of the most electrifying players in the game today.
And it has nothing to do with black and white, but the statistics say what everybody needs to be knowing.
Yeah.
Juju is a better athlete than Caitlin Clark.
But this isn't just about Cam Newton tossing out a reckless take or a former MVP fumbling a player comparison. This is about something much bigger. Truth versus agenda, leadership versus loudness, and facts versus flash. Newton's comments weren't just another sports debate. They struck a nerve. They played into a long-standing pattern of diminishing women's sports, underestimating elite female athletes, and pushing narratives that don't hold up under scrutiny. And that's exactly why Stephanie White, Caitlin Clark, and the Indiana Fever weren't about to let it slide. We're breaking it all down. What Cam said, how Stephanie White responded, and why Caitlin Clark and the Fever are changing the game. One dominant performance at a time. This isn't just talk. This story comes with receipts, rivalries, and a whole lot of reality check energy. Because when Cam Newton speaks, people listen. He's a former NFL MVP, a Heisman Trophy winner, and a quarterback who literally carried teams on his back. His words hold weight. There's no denying that. But with a platform that big comes responsibility, and sometimes the weight of your words can spiral beyond your control. In this case, Newton wasn't just making a statement. He was igniting a firestorm. His take wasn't based on facts, stats, or any real analysis. It was pure spectacle. And in today's world of instant reactions, viral debates, and social media storms, a bad take doesn't just disappear. It gets dissected, analyzed, and in this case, completely shut down. Enter Stephanie White, a leader who isn't just coaching the Fever, but leading a movement. As a former player and now a head coach in the WNBA, White understands what it takes to succeed at the highest level. And when she heard Newton's comments, she didn't hesitate to set the record straight. With confidence and clarity, she reminded the world that Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player. She's a generational talent, and reducing her success to anything less than elite athleticism is simply false. And let's be real, Caitlin Clark has already proven herself on every level. From rewriting NCAA record books to becoming the #1 overall pick in the WNBA draft, she has been a dominant force at every step of her career. The idea that she isn't an elite athlete? Laughable. This moment isn't just about clapping back at a bad take. It's about shifting the conversation. It's about making sure women's sports get the respect they deserve and ensuring that narratives built on outdated assumptions don't go unchallenged. Let's break it all down. How Stephanie White owned the moment, how Caitlin Clark is shutting down the doubters, and why the Indiana Fever are proving that women's basketball isn't just thriving, it's taking over. Because when the facts speak for themselves, the noise fades away.
Rivalries always equates to ratings.
Yeah.
There's more rivalries in men's sports. That's why the ratings are high. See, the thing about Juju, the thing about Paige is, it's not saying this is bad, but they're good girls. Caitlin Clark is a good girl.
The comment that set the internet on fire came during an episode of the 4th and 1 podcast. Cam Newton, relaxed and confident, casually leaned into one of the most unnecessary and divisive comparisons in women's basketball. Without hesitation, he declared that Juju Watkins was a better athlete than Caitlin Clark. But he didn't stop there. Newton doubled down, bringing race into the conversation, layering in narratives about bad girl energy versus good girl branding. And just like that, what started as a basketball debate turned into a cultural firestorm. Now, let's hit pause for a second, because here's the thing. Praising Juju Watkins isn't the problem. Far from it. She's an absolute powerhouse. A sophomore at USC, putting up elite numbers, commanding the court, and proving she's the future of the sport. No one is questioning her talent, her potential, or her impact. Juju is box office. But Cam Newton's take wasn't just about uplifting Juju. It was about diminishing Caitlin Clark in the process, with no real justification beyond his personal perception. Newton argued that Watkins wasn't getting the same push as Clark because she lacked an arch-nemesis, implying that rivalries fuel media attention. He painted Clark as the good girl of women's basketball, contrasting her with players like Angel Reese, who has openly embraced a bad girl persona. And then, he took it even further, suggesting that Caitlin Clark's rise was media-engineered, while Juju Watkins was somehow being held back by the system. Here's the issue. That take completely falls apart when you look at the actual numbers. Caitlin Clark isn't just a media sensation. She's a statistical phenomenon. She dominated college basketball, becoming the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history, shattering records and drawing millions of viewers to women's basketball games like never before. Her games at Iowa weren't just watched. They were events. She led attendance numbers, jersey sales, and national conversations, bringing in historic viewership to women's sports. And Juju Watkins? She's absolutely getting the attention she deserves. She's been featured in major sports media, praised for her insane skill set, and is already being positioned as one of the future faces of the WNBA. There's no media suppression here, just two incredible athletes at different points in their journeys. But the biggest problem with Newton's argument? It reinforces a tired, false narrative that women's sports aren't allowed to simply celebrate multiple great players at once. That one star's rise must come at the expense of another. That the success of Caitlin Clark somehow takes away from Juju Watkins, rather than proving that women's basketball as a whole is growing, thriving, and full of elite talent across the board. Let's break it all down. What Newton got wrong, why these narratives keep popping up, and how the real story isn't about division, but about the undeniable rise of women's basketball. Because when you strip away the noise, the facts speak for themselves.
I do believe Paige and Juju needs nemesis. They need somebody that will rival them to build up the anticipation. Because last year,
that was it. It was like, bro, head to head.
Iowa and South Carolina, LSU and Iowa, LSU and South Carolina, like those were like moments and times where it's like, oh shit, I ain't
Especially
never really
LSU
seen
and Iowa,
sports
bro.
like that.
Yeah.
But thanks to the Caitlin Clarks of the world to have the skill set to match the anticipation of like, yo, she's gonna drop 30.
Yeah.
Juju is also in that wave and that cloth that I can drop 30.
Caitlin Clark's sophomore year at Iowa wasn't just great, it was record-breaking. She led the NCAA in both points and assists per game, averaging 27.0 points, 8.0 assists, and 7.1 rebounds. You want volume? She had it. You want efficiency? She delivered, shooting 45.2% from the field, 33.2% from beyond the arc, and 85% from the free throw line. No fluff. No PR tricks. Just pure domination. And here's the thing. The media hype around Clark didn't explode overnight. She wasn't handed the spotlight the moment she stepped onto a college court. In fact, the national buzz didn't truly take off until late in her junior year, when her deep tournament run, flashy passing, logo threes, and the iconic "You can't see me" moment all collided at once. She didn't walk into college basketball with cameras in her face. She earned it by putting up video game numbers in real games. Now, let's contrast that with Juju Watkins. Again, let's be clear, this isn't about tearing down Juju. She's a phenomenal player. As a sophomore at USC, she's averaging 27.1 points and 7.2 rebounds. Absolutely elite numbers. And she's doing it in Los Angeles, a massive media market, with Hollywood press just down the street. She's getting coverage, tons of it. ESPN highlights, social media buzz, endorsement interest. She's in the spotlight that there's no media blackout happening here. At all.in fact, many sports analysts have pointed out that Juju has received more national media attention as a sophomore than Caitlin Clark did at the same point in her career. That's not speculation, that's fact. And yet, Cam Newton chose to push a conflict-driven narrative rather than one based on actual basketball performance. Now, let's talk about the racial undertones Cam hinted at. Newton claimed his comments had nothing to do with race, right after bringing up race multiple times, that's a rhetorical trap. You don't get to frame the conversation around cultural stereotypes, acknowledge racial tension, and then backpedal by saying, "But it's not about race," because by that point, you've already made it about race. And fans noticed. Social media blew up. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and comment sections everywhere flooded with people calling out the contradiction. Not because people hate Cam Newton, not because they refuse to acknowledge disparities in coverage across sports, but because his argument didn't hold up under scrutiny. This wasn't about uplifting Juju Watkins. This was about discrediting Caitlin Clark without facts to back it up. And that's where the debate really begins. So let's break it down. Why Newton's take crumbles under real numbers, how these narratives keep resurfacing, and why the rise of women's basketball isn't about choosing one star over another. It's about recognizing the greatness of them all. Because when the facts speak, the noise fades away.
You know, I think the greatest thing is just, for me, having been a part of the WNBA for 25 years, having worked on both sides of it in the media and on the coaching realm, and being a player in this league as well. I mean, this is the moment that we've been waiting for. So I don't know if you prepare for it as much as you just embrace it, embrace where we are. Think about the momentum moving forward, where we wanted this league to be and where we still aspire for it to go, and just embrace this moment, embrace this opportunity, continue to help this team, this franchise be better, position ourselves for success.
And that's where Stephanie White comes in. Cam Newton might have thrown the first punch, but she responded without raising her voice. No aggression, no insults, just clarity. In a world full of hot takes, sometimes that's what hits the hardest. When White responded, she didn't throw shade or call out Newton by name. She did what real leaders do. Defended her players with authority, confidence, and facts. That's what made her words hit harder than any viral soundbite. She called Caitlin Clark a great player with unbelievable IQ, someone who adjusted quickly to the league. White isn't one to throw out empty compliments. She's coached at both the college and pro levels, working with legends. If she says someone is built different, they are. But what really stood out was her focus on growth. White said Clark isn't just a talent. She's a future leader. That means more than dropping 20 a night. It means knowing how to guide teammates, take over games in crunch time, and set a tone in the locker room. It's not about being loud. It's about being steady. That's leadership, and White already sees it in Clark. Now contrast that with Cam's take, where Clark's rise was framed as media engineered, handed to her because of marketing and rivalry drama. White shut that down immediately, not by attacking, but by elevating the truth. Clark's success didn't happen by accident. It came from preparation, adaptability, and straight-up hooping. And speaking of the locker room, that's where White really dropped the receipts. When Stephanie White says the Fever's culture is strong, believe it. Unlike Cheryl Swoops, who's tossing opinions from the outside, White is in the trenches every day. Her message wasn't just about correcting Cam or defending Clark. It was about protecting her team from outside noise and, more importantly, keeping her players focused on the mission, building something that lasts. And if you want proof, listen to the actual players in the locker room. Lexi Hull, one of Clark's teammates, didn't just shut down the drama narrative, she torched it. She described Clark as someone who constantly lifts teammates up. If a teammate misses a shot, Clark is the first one saying, "You got the next one." If things get tense in a game, Clark cracks jokes. If someone needs confidence, she's there every time. Hull didn't call Clark a leader because of stats. She called her a leader because of energy. The kind of leader who sees the game at a bigger scale, keeps teammates grounded, and never makes it about herself. And Erica Wheeler backed that up. She said Clark never takes anything too seriously and described practices filled with laughter, jokes, and good vibes. In her words, "All we do is have fun with Caitlin Clark." These aren't PR quotes. These are real-time reports from teammates who live the season with Clark day after day. What they describe isn't tension, it's chemistry. People like Cheryl Swoops are pushing narratives about friction, claiming players want out, spinning stories about drama that just doesn't exist. The gap between perception and reality couldn't be wider, guys. Oh, why do these stories keep popping up? Conflict drives clicks. Comparing Clark to other players, suggesting divides, hinting at racial undertones. It all fuels engagement, but it doesn't tell the truth. Stephanie White and the Fever players are telling the truth. The Fever's success this season wasn't random. It wasn't luck. It was built on chemistry, and it shows up in every interview, every huddle, every fourth quarter comeback. Even the organization itself isn't feeding into the noise. Team President Kelly Kaufman publicly praised Kelsey Mitchell, calling her a cornerstone. That kind of support doesn't happen in a fractured team. IT happens in a team that knows exactly who they are. And the fans? They see it too. Ratings are up. Ticket sales are up. WNBA jerseys are flying off shelves. The Fever have become one of the most talked about teams in the league. Not just because of Clark, but because they're genuinely fun to watch. They move the ball. They trust each other. They look like a unit, not a brand. That's not media strategy. That's team identity. Let's not pretend Clark hasn't made mistakes. She's had off nights. She's missed shots. She's faced pressure like no rookie has in years. But through it all, the team hasn't turned on her. They've supported her. They've grown with her. They've trusted her. That's culture. That's chemistry. And that's something no hot take can fake. So the next time someone throws shade or tries to spark drama, just look at how the actual players respond. Because while the media is trying to create friction, the Fever are out here building wins and doing it together. Here's the bottom line. Cam Newton fired off a take that didn't age well. Stephanie White responded with facts, clarity, and leadership and set the record straight. This wasn't about tearing anyone down. This was about elevating the truth. This video wasn't just about clapping back. It was about showing what real leadership looks like. So what's your take? Do you agree with Stephanie White? Was Cam Newton way off base? And if you want no-fluff basketball breakdowns, coach-level insight, and player-first storytelling, hit that like button, smash subscribe, turn on the bell. The WNBA is heating up, and we're just getting started. Let's run it.